So the third scenario is customized lifestyle. What does this mean? If everyone is able to make its own products and exchange of physical goods is so reduced and expensive, what do you think is the strategy that transportation logistics companies should implement? Well, I think you are referring to the so-called revolution of the additive manufacturing, 3D printers and
yes.
so on. Well, besides the fact that 3D printers may be rather expensive, and also the materials are rather expensive, you know, it takes a lot of money to charge and recharge and refill the 3D printers, and the 3D printers themselves, they are pretty expensive. At the moment, you know, you can buy a 3D printer, but probably the lowest possible price you can pay is well above 5,000 euros. So, and what can you expect to produce? So, it's a technology that is destined to change the scenario, but not to the point, in my view, to substitute the need to, you know, to the subtractive manufacturing or to the, let's say, mass market manufacturing, that is the replication based on, let's say, molds and materials that are pressed, you know, of something, you know, you can build, of course, a table through a 3D printer, but, you know, to build this table, you have to have a very big 3D printer that is just beyond your reach, your capacity, financial capacity. So, but it's interesting, you know, I think that we have to, how is this affecting logistics? Well, of course, the more we produce at home, the less we produce outside, but, you know, come on, let's look at agriculture. We all love the idea, you know, to eat something 0 kilometers far from where, you know, the production has taken place, but in the end, we are also interested in paying low prices, and so we understand the need to standardize, to concentrate production. So I think that for logistics, there will always be, and transportation, always be, you know, room for doing business. How do you think companies should deal with the problem of digital security in a scenario like this? Digital security, well, it's very, very problematic and difficult problem. I don't know exactly what this could mean, but if it's about the availability of my personal data for someone else, then I think that we are destined to face a dilemma between privacy and the openness that is needed to benefit from all the technologies around us. Are we willing to sacrifice the comforts of using emails, smartphones, and, you know, navigate the web and so, just because we want to protect our privacy? This is something we as citizens, we have to reflect on. I don't think it's about companies. Yes, companies, of course, they are part of the problem and of the solution, because you have companies that probably will offer digital security services, and we have companies that can be affected by hackers or any kind of cyber crime. But you know, I'm pretty uncomfortable with this question. It's perhaps too complicated for me. Protectionism. Yes, I agree that regional barriers can decrease the size of the market, and by decreasing the size of the market, they are limiting also the market potential for several companies, not only for logistics and transportation, but also for production companies, as you mentioned. Can you think of a strategy for mass production companies to keep being competitive? I don't think that in a protectionistic scenario, you know, companies can truly sustain their competitiveness, because competitiveness is very much related to the size of the market. And this is a very well-known principle in the economics. economies of scale are limited by the size of the market. So the smaller the market, the lower the economies of scale, and so the lower the efficiency. So I truly hope there will not be a reason to fear that this scenario can take place, protectionism. Even though I understand that when things are not going well for some countries, such countries they can be attracted by the idea to protect their economies. But there are economies like, for example, in Italy that are just too open to afford any limitation of trade. So, if you protect your country, how can you expect that the other countries are welcoming your exports? So, I truly hope that this scenario will not become true. Otherwise, I think that mass production can be limited, especially for big multinationals. Well, internet and e-commerce, probably they can continue to be the basis for some global exchanges, even in a protectionism scenario, because it's very difficult to, nowadays you can, as I do, for example, you can order a camera in Hong Kong. Hong Kong are telling their warehouse in Netherlands to prepare this camera for me, and then they are sending this through France or Germany and to Italy, and this is something I can manage by myself through the internet. Then probably most of such transactions, they take place with regard to the information flows rather than logistics. So probably you cannot impede any sort of flow of information. Well, you can impede this logistics, but at the moment, for example, we have a European Union that is not destined to fall down, fall apart. European Union is European Union. Then you have North American market that is, the NAFTA market that is, free trade zone. Then you have even in the Asian countries we have. So I don't see, if it's not at the global level, it would be at the regional level. By regional, I mean continental level. So, and I think that it will be big enough to justify logistics, to justify internet, and to sustain such businesses. And as regards the last two questions, global resilience, local adaptation, do you think it's possible for the humans to reach a point where the supply chain of commodities and basic goods providers, what's necessary for the well-being of the whole population, the populated planet? Let me get the point. Provides what's necessary for the well-being of the people. Well, this is not about the management of supply chain, but it's about the distribution of wealth. Even when of course, people, they can die for famine because of problems with climate, because of problems with dries, because of problem of, But in the end, I don't think it's a logistics problem, and probably it's the problem is with the uneven distribution of wealth among the world population. So it's more a political problem than a logistics problem. Of course, logistics can help in, for example, providing support and helps, aids, and so. But in the end, I think it's not about the availability of commodities or basic goods, but it's about, political support to the cause of equal distribution of the wealth. So, I think there is a lot to do in this respect, and we are very far from the best of the worlds, or the perfect world. As regards the last question, how do you think Internet will help to create production and logistics cooperation and conglomerates in the future? Well, rather than Internet, I would say that information technology and the shortening, the lowering of physical distance between business entities, either companies or individuals, consumers, suppliers, is good in general to facilitate cooperation and cooperation in general. I mean, if we use Skype, for example, we can work together even if we are thousands of kilometers distant. If we work Dropbox, if we use the word Dropbox, we can use and update the same file wherever we are. So this is the use and the good use of technology. So this is facilitating for sure cooperation. And probably this can help any company in the world to coordinate better its different branches all around it, for example, multinationals or even networks of companies. So in general, Internet is a very, very effective technology. So I think it can increase also the cooperation levels.